For this video, we're going to look at the Roland JX-03 boutique synth. So we're just going to go through the sections. It's not going to be very orderly because it's kind of spread out how you have to program this. So first off, we have the two waveforms here. That's DCO 1 and 2. DCO is digitally controlled oscillator. So we have range, and then we have waveforms. So now both of these also have frequency mods, okay? If you follow the lines here, it'll be sent to these two knobs, which means this is the pitch going through here, and then you can modify the pitch by changing these, okay? And also there's a switch which would invert anything that you would send through it. First off, I turned on both DCOs here, okay? By using VCF, that's voltage controlled filter, source mix. So right here, all that is a mixer of volume between these two. So I moved it to the middle. So now we hear this sound and we can actually modify it. Now DCO2 also has coarse and fine tune. If you modify the fine tune a little bit, it'll give it a little detuned sound, which sounds a little wider, as you can hear. Let's just run both of these through to the LFO, just to explain what this means. So let's just leave that one off and this one's on. So it's only going to send this to this knob, okay? Now when we're talking about LFO, we're going to have to look over here, and I'm going to have to go through this too. Okay, so what I'm going to do is turn this amount up, and how far up I move this will affect the pitch. So if you want it subtle, you just bring it up a little bit, okay? If you want it to be massive change, you just bring it all the way up, okay? So I'm just going to run it through and turn up the rate of the LFO here. You can change the shape of the LFO. You can hear it change. We got a square wave. And then if we want to switch on this oscillator also through to the LFO, I just turn that up. Turn that one off. So as you can see, it preserves the pitch if it's off. Next, let's turn on the envelopes. Okay, I'm going to turn off the LFOs on both. Go to here, which is the amount of pitch we want changed. So right now we are set. We're going to look over here now at the VCA. This is voltage controlled amp, in other words, the volume. So this is the level, it's all the way up. And here, if you have this all the way down, all that means is on the envelope over here would be sustain all the way up, attack, decay, and release off. So it doesn't fade in, it doesn't fade out, it's just a straight, almost like how an organ would play. Okay? So if you turn this up and switch it, it's going to go straight to the envelope. So what I'm going to do, let's turn up decay a little. And then turn up release a little so it fades out a little. And the attack's down, so if I turn the attack up, it'll fade in. So as you can see, you can do a lot of different shapes with this. Just telling it how you want it to fade in, fade out, hold, and then release the note. So if you keep it in this mode, then you can kind of freely affect the envelope, okay? So let's turn up the amount here of the envelope. So as you can hear, it's going to affect it more if you go really high. If you keep it really low, you can make really interesting subtle sounds. Let's just turn up the envelope. Then you can combine with LFO as well. Okay, next we're going to look at the Crossmod on here. The first setting here is to sync 1, it's called. And what this does is it takes the DCO2, synchronizes it to DCO1's wave. So you can come up with some interesting sounds that way. So, for example, so you can come up with some interesting waveforms with that Crossmod, because now we're just listening to DCO2, and I'm going to turn the coarse tuning. Okay, so what you can do is turn on, say, an envelope here, and again we're on DCO2, turning that on. We can also mix in the LFO. So if you want an even more intense effect to get some strange sounds, there's Sync 2. So as you can hear, it has an interesting texture without even changing any of the knobs. And next we have Met 1, which says metal. For this one, I'm going to switch all the way over to DCO2, and then we can hear what this does. So I just changed the tuning of DCO2. Well, let's change the tuning of DCO1 to hear what that changes. So if we go to DCO1, this is what we hear. And if we go over to 2, all the way, you'll hear that wave is affecting this wave. So if I run that through an envelope, DCO1, so you hear like this strange modification of the wave. And then we have Metal 2. The next one we have is Ring Mod, which multiplies both of them. So, yeah, it sounds a little strange as well. So now let's look at the VCF section. Again, we have that source mix that mixes the volume between the two oscillators. And then we have high pass filter. High pass filter means it's going to cut off the low end. Next we have cutoff frequency. This is a low pass filter. And you have the resonance, which brings out the intensity of the cutoff. Okay, so right here we have envelope mod. What this does is sends the amount of cutoff that we tell over to the envelope. And in order to really be able to use this freely with the envelope, you would probably want to have the VCA set to the down position, so you can really change the shape that you want. Unless, of course, you want it to go with that kind of the volume to match everything as well. But yeah, okay. You can also invert it if you turn this switch. So next we want to look at the LFO mod. What that does is it sends the filter to the LFO. So let's just turn that up. And let's change the LFO's rate. You can hear that slightly. Let's turn up the resonance. You'll be able to definitely hear it. And then we'll turn down the cutoff. The more lower you put the LFO mod, the more subtle the change. Now we have pitch fellow. What that does is it scales the cutoff, so you'll be able to hear this. It's kind of like emphasizing the cutoff more. So it kind of like ranges the scale of how the cutoff affects the parts of the keyboard. So let's look into the delay effect. So hold down manual, and then you want to press 14, and right now it's set to the lowest. This is the delay volume. So let's bring the delay volume up. So let's press manual 15, and this is delay time. And then manual 16 is delay feedback. So the higher it goes, the more it will repeat. Next, if I hold down chorus here, okay, you can change the octave of the keyboard, and you can change from poly, unison, solo. When you turn this on, okay, that turns on the portamento, and this is the how long or short it takes to reach the next note. That's what portamento is. It'll curve the note to the next one. Bring it high. Now if we want to enter the sequence mode, you just hold down chorus and press manual. In other words, you see it down here, SEQ, and it has a line connecting both of the buttons. That's how you can remember. The way you know you're in sequence mode is this will be blinking, okay? So how this works, you have 1 through 16 steps here, and you hold down the first step, for example, and play a note. And then let's do 3, play a note. And then 5, let's play another note. If we press play, you just tap it to toggle it from play to stop, which shows right here. Now what you can do in this mode, if you hold this down, this changes the tempo of the sequence, and this will change the gate of the notes. So if I press play, let's make changes. Make it go faster or slower. And here's the gate. Right now it's open. Let's close it. You'll hear it. It's like cutting off the end of the note. Let's say you want to change a note. You just hold down the step and play the new note. And that's it. And to delete them, you just press the note and it's gone. Let's exit out of sequence mode, hold chorus and manual. And last but not least, we have the chorus button. Now what this does is applies a chorus. So you can hear that.